to worship on this second Sunday of Advent. It is good to be with you. I will admit to you, I'm starting to fade a little bit. The last day or so, I've been feeling a little bit under the weather, so I'm not going to get close to anybody today. And if I make it through about half the service, we'll be okay. That'll be great. There's a Connect card that looks kind of like this one that is carefully placed in your bulletin. Be sure to fill that out as completely as possible. On the back, you can put your prayer concerns and they will be prayed over this very day. We thank you for doing that, and you can put this in the offering basket when that comes by later. Tonight at 6 o'clock in this very room, there will be a concert, a Christmas concert. The orchestra will play, the choir, sanctuary choir, the bell choir, and the children's choir will be right here. I can see all their names on the tape as they share together. So it'll be a great night of sharing together. That's at 6 o'clock in this very room. If you have not yet finished your special care cards, it's not too late. You can write cards to all those folks, and they're in your bulletin, people that need an extra card at Christmas. The Roanoke Symphony Orchestra is doing their production of The Messiah this year here at Thrasher, and you can get tickets for that through the Roanoke Symphony Orchestra. In the bulletin, the time is wrong. It says there it's 7:30. It's actually at 7. So make your plans accordingly. This coming Friday is Jingle Jam. There's an insert in your bulletin about that, and I hope that everybody will plan to come to Jingle Jam and share in all the fun that is. And then there's all kinds of other stuff going on in the life of the church that are also listed in your bulletin. I hope that you will share in as much of that as is possible. We share in the joy of the season together. And at this time, I ask that we stand and join in singing together, Angels We Have Heard on High. And this has the fun little blow. That's the fun part.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plain, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Oh, triumphant. Oh, come ye together. Come and behold Him, for the King of Ages. Oh, come let us adore Him. Oh, come let us adore Him. Oh, come let us adore Him. Sing choirs of angels, sing in exultation, sing all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God, glory in the highest. Oh, come let us adore Him. Oh, come let us adore Him. Oh, come let us adore Him. Christ the Lord.
You may be seated. At this time, though, there's somebody that's going to be lighting the Advent candle, and they will come at this time to do that.
Now? I feel like singing now. Good morning. We are the 7 a.m. Men's Bible Study. We meet in Jones? No, what is it? Wesley. Yeah, right over through there. Mark Hale is not here today, but he kind of leads up the class. And we've been meeting for 10 plus years. And in small groups, but we pray, we pray, we eat, we love, we cry, we do all things together, and but most importantly, we've kind of built a friendship over the years. But the beauty is that there's a lot more seats at the table. So if any man out there wants to join, please come. So every journey got me shaking now. Every journey faces the unknown, and anxiety can sometimes overwhelm us. There's too much to do, our lists are long, our calendars are filled. We worry that something will go wrong, and we won't end up in the right place or take the right route. Getting lost is a real possibility on a journey, and yet we claim the hope for the journey because we follow the one who will travel with us and sustain us on our way.
Isaiah says that there is one who is to come who will be the fulfillment of all of our hope. The Spirit of the Lord will rest on this the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and the fear of the Lord. We place our hope in this one.
We light the candles of peace and of hope to give us strength for the journey.
Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, that God may teach us the ways of peace and hope.
At this time, I'd like to invite all the kindergartners through 5th grade to meet me at the door, and we will continue our worship at Explosion Worship. And for the ones that are staying here, please stand and sing us out.
Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Peace on earth and mercy mild, God and sinners reconciled. Joyful all ye nations rise, join the triumph of the skies. With angelic hosts proclaim, Christ is born in Bethlehem. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Christ by highest heaven adored, Christ the everlasting Lord. Late in time, behold him come, offspring of a virgin's womb. Veiled in flesh, the Godhead see, hailing God and deity. Pleased with us in flesh to dwell, Jesus our Emmanuel. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King. Hail the newborn Prince of Peace, hail the Son of Righteousness. Light and life to all he brings, risen with his enemy's wings. There he plays his glory by, for that we may born may die, born to raise us from the earth, born to give a second birth. Hark the herald angels sing, glory to the newborn King.
You may be seated. Isaiah chapter 40. If you were here last Sunday, this is the same text we read then. But we're going to look at the last part of it. Last week we looked at the first part of it. So just know, it may sound familiar. Comfort, oh comfort my people, says your God. Speak tenderly to Jerusalem and cry to her that she has served her term, that her penalty is paid, that she has received from the Lord's hand double for all her sins. A voice cries out, in the wilderness prepare the way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. For every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill be made low. The uneven ground shall become level, and the rough places a plain. Then the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all people shall see it together. For the mouth of the Lord has spoken. This is the word of God for the people of God. Let us pray together. Descend upon us now, Spirit of the living God. Words of my mouth and meditations of all of our hearts may be acceptable in thy sight. O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Amen. I grew up in Bath County, just north of here, as close to West Virginia as you can get without actually being West Virginia. It is what we like to refer to as God's country. It is one of the most beautiful places in all of the earth. It has lots of mountains and rolling hills and fields and forests. It is one of the most wonderful places to grow up. I mean, it's just wonderful. There was trails to hike and places to explore. There's more caves in Bath County than people have even counted. If you like spelunking, you could go through most of Hot Springs underground. It's just neat. There's all kinds of stuff to explore and to get into, and we used to climb through those as kids. We used to enjoy going up to the airport. Bath County has the highest airport east of Denver. And it is at about 3,500 feet, which is why when you watch the news here and it says that Hot Springs is like 10 or 15 degrees colder than it is in Roanoke, it's because the weather station is at the airport. It's not that cold in Hot Springs, it's just up at 3,500 feet at the airport it is. And the wind is always blowing at the airport. I don't ever want to land in a plane at the Bath County airport. I've been there and watched them come in, and they do that little thing where they come in and land. The runway is not flat because they couldn't get it to be flat. It kind of slopes from one end to the other. Our football field at the high school slopes from one end to another, so much so that if we won the toss, we would say, we want to be going downhill in the fourth quarter, because it was an advantage to us. I never saw flat ground in my whole life. I grew up driving around those curvy mountain roads and loved to drive curvy mountain roads. And when I was growing up, there were no solid lines anywhere in Bath County. You could pass anywhere you felt like it, which was always an adventure. Because sometimes you could cut the corner on somebody going around a turn and just hope that nobody was coming. They've put double lines through the whole county almost now. But man, when I was growing up, it was fun to be a daredevil and to drive the roads like crazy people that we were. And so when we would read the text from Isaiah or echoed in Matthew's gospel, the voice of one crying in the wilderness that every valley shall be lifted up and every mountain shall be made low. When you live in Bath County and you go up to the airport and you look out over the vastness of all the mountains as far as you can see, you know that every valley being lifted up and every mountain and hill being made low was going to be a spectacular event. There was going to be earthquakes and eruptions and explosions, and ground was going to shift and shake. Houses were going to crumble, and when they would read this, it would scare me to death. That when Jesus comes, the whole world is going to shake and rattle and roll, and it's never going to be the same again. It filled me with fear, trembling. And then I went for 2 years to Canada to live in Manitoba, in Winnipeg. And I don't know if you know much about the geological formations of the world, but the landmass in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, North Dakota, and that part of Montana is the flattest geological formation on the planet. There's nothing anywhere else in the world as flat as that is. The joke they say in Saskatchewan all the time is, my dog ran away from home 3 days ago and I can still see him. You can see forever there in the prairies. There's nothing to block your view. One of the first times my mother-in-law came to visit us in Virginia, she said, can you even see a sunset here with the mountains? And I thought we could. But if you've never seen a prairie sunset, I have driven into a sunset. One time I was driving from Minneapolis to Fargo, North Dakota, which is due west. And for the whole time, I was driving into the sunset. And my eyes hurt from driving into the sunset because you can't get away from it. There's nothing to hide behind. And every once in a while, I would find a 18-wheel truck to get behind just to get a little shade from the sun blaring in your eyes. It took me a long time to get used to the flatness. I laughed at them because in Manitoba, the trash heaps are their ski slopes. And they also put ski slopes on their riverbanks because there's nowhere else that you can go, and it's not. So most people don't do downhill skiing. They do this crazy thing called cross-country skiing, which is a lot of work. I like to skate where you just put a stick on your foot and slide down a hill. They had this thing where they skated up and down the rivers, the snow. It's a beauty that you need to behold. Because in the summer when the plants are growing and the crops are full in the fields, if you've never seen a field of canola beside a field of flax, you see the purples and the yellow flowers as far as you can see. If you have never seen a billion sunflowers looking at you, it looks like a billion. I mean, just as far as you can see to the ends of the earth, the whole field, just nothing but sunflowers. It is amazingly beautiful. And you drive, well, you go from Minneapolis to Fargo, it's a straight shot, and then you take a right. And it's another 5 hours to Winnipeg. You can hang a brick on your steering wheel and just take a nap. Because there's like 2 turns in the whole road. And there's one time when you actually go up a little hill to go over a train track. And from the top of that train track overpass, it looks like you can see the oceans, which are 1,500 miles away. You really can't, but it seems like you ought to be able to. It just goes on forever, this flatness. And it's all the same. You'll see a grain elevator, because that's the only markers you have out there. You'll see one way out in the distance, and I can't tell. I grew up in Bath County where the furthest thing you could see was 100 yards away. Out there, I didn't know if the grain elevator was an hour away, 2 hours away, or 2 days away. Because you could see that far. You just keep driving, and eventually you get closer to it. You go through a little town, and then on to the next one. But there's a beauty in it. And when you read this text in the prairies, about every valley being lifted up and every mountain being made low, you realize that what Isaiah is talking about is that we're all going to live in the prairies. I was exiled by the bishop at one point. For 6 years, I lived in a part of Virginia that doesn't have mountains. That's the only time I've ever been away from my mountains other than the time when I was up in Winnipeg. Because to me, mountains are holy. It's where I go to find spiritual connection with God. I go up into the valley. I go up on the top of the mountains. And when I'm down in the valley of shadow of death, I know that God is with me. And in my mountains and my valleys, I can find God. I'm looking forward to this big shaking day when it all becomes flat, but then I realize that in the flatness, there's a mundane and boringness about it. It just is the same all the time. And sometimes I think this is the reality of Christmas, is it not? I mean, we all have this idea that Christmas is going to be like mountains coming down and valleys filling up, and it's going to be the most exciting thing in the world, and we're going to wake up on Christmas Day, and we're going to run downstairs, and all the presents are going to be there, and everything's going to be just right, and Santa realized that we were good enough to get something, and they came. It's all wrapped up, and it's all the right size. and the batteries are not dead. And then after a time of opening, we go and we have meals together, breakfast and lunch, and everything is wonderful. And all the casseroles and all the hams and all the turkeys and all the things are cooked to perfection. And all the family gathers and they all have kind and gracious words to say to one another. And at the end of the evening, with hot cocoa in cups, we sit around the fireplace and sing Christmas carols in perfect tune. Or maybe I've just been watching too many Hallmark movies. I don't know, you know. Because Christmas is never like that, is it? But we have this expectation of it. I mean, Christmas is nuts. You get up and you go out, and the kids have already opened up gifts because they want to know what's in the boxes. Even before you got to watch it, you have no idea who gave them what. And then you get your breakfast, the bacon is burned. My mother-in-law always burned the bacon. I think she thought it was part of the Christmas tradition, is that the bacon on Christmas morning must be not crispy, but burned, and it was always burned. And it was Canadian bacon. Burned Canadian bacon. Not so good. But we ate it anyway to keep her happy. And then you go to your meal that you invite the family over to, and all the stuff is just not right. And the conversation around the table goes from politics to religion. People get angry and frustrated, and Uncle Bob and Aunt Sally just get up and walk out. They've had it. And you wonder what's going on. Where's my Christmas that I want so bad? I want it to be perfect. I want it to be bigger than life. I want it to be something that I will remember forever. Yet it's this, small, it's insignificant. It doesn't seem big enough, wonderful. But I think what Isaiah was talking about was more theological than geological. Because I think he was trying to help us understand God's very nature. You see, we would like for God to come into our world in some big, fantastic way, with lots of fanfare, with lots of explosion, with the ground shaking and all the things going on and everything, and everybody would notice and everybody would be a part of it. Trumpets blaring and all that kind of stuff. But that's not what we got at Christmas, did we? You know what the message of Christmas is? We have this little baby born in a manger in a little town called Bethlehem. God came into the world the same way you come into the world. Born as a helpless, defenseless, dependent baby. The God of all creation, it says, emptied himself, became flesh, full of grace, truth, and was born into our world in the most simple way, the same way all of us do. And lived a life pretty much like us. I imagine Jesus had to go to school and turn in homework and all those kind of things that he really didn't want to do. Help his father in the shop. Do all that stuff that mom wants him to do. Sometimes we get caught up in our rut, don't we? Anybody love their rut? I love my rut. I wake up in the same old day every day, same old way every day. I wake up and I go to the bathroom and I look in the mirror and I think, tomorrow I'm going to lose weight. That's the first thing I think. I got this. and I brush my teeth, and I comb my hair, and well, you know, I don't spend a lot of time on that anymore. I do all the things that I need to do, and I get ready, and I get dressed, and I go to work, and I spend some time doing my stuff here at the church, and I go and do things, and I come back at church at night for a meeting usually, and I'm here, and then I get home, and I collapse in the chair, and I watch a little bit of television, and then I go to bed, knowing that tomorrow, I'm pretty much going to do the same thing. The same old day after day routine that we get in. And we look at Christmas as if it's going to be that one big day, that one big thing that's going to come, and it's going to make life different somehow, and it's going to be better, and it's going to be... And all we get is this little baby being born into the flatness and the mundaneness of the world. So let me tell you, if you've never driven through the prairies, it's just about as mundane as you can get. It's just the same over and over and over. But I think it's important for us to know that God comes into our everyday lives, into our sameness lives, into those lives that don't seem to be glorious and glamorous. I get tired of watching those people on TV that just seem that they got it all going on, and and they got it all this and all that. And I look at my life and it's flat. Yeah, I like to find God up on the mountaintop. I've even found God down in the valleys when I've struggled in my life, in my faith, in my journey. But for 2 years, when I lived in Manitoba, I finally learned to find God in the everydayness of life, in the flat places. One night, Jan and I went out for a walk in January. And let me tell you, if you're in Winnipeg and it's 40 below and you go for a walk, people will think you're nuts. We got all bundled up when we walked down to a park near our apartment. We were walking through. It's easy to take walks in the city because it's flat. You don't have to climb any hills or anything to go, and you're just walking through this park, and all of a sudden I looked up, and the sky was alight. These things moving back and forth, blues and greens, yellows and reds. I had never seen them before, and I said, Jane, look. And she goes, what? I said, look up there. And she goes, what? I said, do you see the lights? Then I was thinking I was losing again. Do you see the lights? And she goes, well, those are the northern lights. I said, I've never seen them before. And she goes, what do you mean? I said, we don't get them in Virginia. But we do here. Because even in the flat mundaneness of life, God shows us God's glory. Time after time, time after time, time after time. So as you live through this Christmas season, in this Advent season where you're anticipating the coming of the Christ, don't look for the big explosive things. Look in the everyday moments, in the same moments, in those precious little moments each and every day when God breaks in and lets you know that God is with you. Those are the moments to cherish. Those are the moments that build our faith in the everyday, same old stuff. Just remember, God shows up. Always. Amen.
Please stand with me as you are able to offer our faith together. I believe in God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, His only Son, our Lord, was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead, and buried. The third day He rose from the dead. He ascended into heaven, and sitteth at the right hand of God the Father Almighty.
The first Noel, the angels did say, was to certain poor shepherds in fields as they lay. In fields where they keeping their sheep on a cold winter's night that was so deep. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. They looked up and saw a star shining in the east beyond them far, and to the earth it gave great light, and so it continued both day and night. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. Then entered in those wise men three, for reverently upon their knee, and all there in His presence their gold and myrrh and frankincense. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel. Noel, 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 born is the King of Israel.
So this past Thursday evening, we had our Vinton Christmas parade. That was my first experience in Vinton, having that Christmas parade. It was so much fun, so much great experience. And then thanks for everyone who helped with the parade, and then who also helped to share the free hot dog, free popcorn, free hot chocolate, and everything. Like, I tried every single thing. I tried from popcorn, and then hot chocolate, and then hot dog with chili. So it was good. It was good. So yeah. So thank you everyone. And then yeah, it was great Christmas parade, and that was great experience for me. Yeah, it was good. Thank you for everyone who helped. And also, let us continue to pray for those who are in the hospital at this moment. Jerry Ford is at the hospital, and there's so many people. Back of your bulletin, there are people in the hospital, so let us keep them in our prayer. And also, let us also pray for M. Holloman as well, who is at the hospital as well. And especially, let us pray for, remember, for the family of Keith Brogan. His funeral service was yesterday, and the flower on the altar is for the memory of his funeral. So let us keep them in our prayer, his family, so only God can comfort and reconcile them. And as this time, as we close our eyes, let us pray together. God of hope, we give you thanks. We always give you thanks for what you have done for us, what you have given for us. Especially thank you so much for providing this community, this church, this family. Lord, because you provided this community, as we gather together to worship you, we can glorify your name and kingdom. So thank you so much for providing what we need. And Lord, thank you so much for inviting us, for bringing us here to worship you, and for making us to participate in your ministry, in your mission, and being part of your kingdom. Thank you so much for giving that opportunity and privilege to be part of your kingdom, to be serving your kingdom, to be serving you. So Lord, we give you thanks. We always give you thanks. And let us continue to give you thanks. Yes, Lord, it is December, it is Advent season, and it is crazy and busy season for each of us, for everyone. Many times we wait for Christmas gift, for great food. But Lord, let us not forget that you are coming, that we are waiting for you in this season. And yes, Lord, we might be filled with a lot of food, with a lot of gifts that we are waiting. But Lord, let us be filled with your Spirit. And let us be empty spiritually, so we can receive you as our Savior, as our Messiah, as our Lord, as our King of Kings. So Lord, help us, guide us, and protect us as we continue our journey in this season. And let us not be distracted from the world, from the craziness and busyness of the world, to focus on you. Let us be fully focused on you, focused on waiting you in our lives and in this world. Let us not forget the true meaning, the true significance of Advent season. Waiting for you. Lord, continue to be with us. Let your presence be with us as always. And let us be living by faith, step by step, as you guide us and as you protect us. So Lord, in this kind of season, we are waiting for you. So as we continue our faith journey, help us to fully focus on you, to fully wait for you. Lord, we give you thanks, we give you praise, we give you glory, and we pray in your name. Amen. And let us continue to pray the Lord's Prayer that Jesus taught us. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, glory forever. Amen. At this time, as the ushers come, let us offer God.
when you're in your rut, when you least expect God to show up, when you think, I wish something big would happen, know that something has already happened, that Christ has come into your everydayness, into that stuff that you're dealing with every day. And if today's the day that you want to become a part of this particular church, by the profession of your faith, and by saying that you'll support the church with your prayers, your presence, your gifts, your service, and your witness, then come as we stand and join in singing together. Oh, come, Emmanuel.
Come, oh, come, Emmanuel, and ransom captive Israel, that mourned in lowly exiling, until the Son of God appears. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come, thou wisdom from on high, and order all things far and nigh. To us the path of knowledge show, and cause us in her ways to go. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel.
I will not be at the back door today. I apologize for that. I'm going to go in my office and kind of squirrel away in here and see if I can get through the next service. But remind you that we have the concert tonight at 6, and a lot of things going on this week. It's going to be a great week in the life of our church. I do want to ask for your prayers. Tomorrow night, the Staff Parish Relations Committee of the church meets, and they will be discussing whether your pastor should return for another year. So if you know one of them and want to give your input one way or the other on that, be sure to find one of the staff parish people. They're around. If you're on that, raise your hand real quick so people know who you are. Janice back here, Katie's back there, Thomas back there, Amanda's back there. Let us pray together. Now may the grace and mercy and peace, God the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, rest and abide with each of us, both now and forever. Amen.